Overcoming and becoming. Overcoming and becoming, babe. If you want it, then become it. Just let your light shine through you, baby. Who you are, live life in your truth. Sister, love, you're amazing. And life is complete once we see who we are created to be. Overcome and become. Let your light shine through you, baby. Who you are, live life in your truth. Sister, love, you're amazing. And life is complete once we see who we are created to be. We are who we are, meant to be who we are.
Welcome to Overcoming and Becoming. I am your host, Latisa B. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about overcoming childhood abuse. But before I do that, check out my fit. The House of Couture, she has done it again. And I want to send a special shout out to the Balloon Diva and Balloon Diva University. She can take the ordinary and make it extraordinary. We'll be right back.
If you want it, then become it.
Become a part of a speaking agency that will show you how to stay relevant and be the speaking expert in your field now. Get ready to be ahead of the pack. Join the League of Champions and get ready for a champion comeback.
Overcoming and becoming. Overcoming and becoming, babe. If you want it, then become it.
Welcome back to Overcoming and Becoming. Joining me today is my guest, Lisa Dene, singer, songwriter, author, radio personality, and founder of Stunner Radio. Welcome, Lisa, to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, and I want to thank you for coming and being a part of today's episode, because today we're going to be talking about overcoming childhood abuse.
Yes.
And I know you have a soft spot for that.
Yes, indeed, I do.
So can you just share your story with us of the abuse you experienced as a child?
Well, the abuse I experienced as a child basically started straight from the womb. I was a child that was neglected. So it started as neglect. There were days when I went days and days without being fed or changed. There were people in my family who knew what was going on, but because my mother suffered from postpartum depression, they were more concerned with her well-being than mine as a child. So I'm sure you wonder, how do you know this? You were a baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I have memories of not only crawling on the floor, but also being in a crib and looking up to the sky wondering, who do I belong to? So those things, although people don't think you remember them, they do follow you throughout your life, even though it happened to me as an infant.
Wow, so it's like it was embedded in your soul, it was embedded in your spirit so that it didn't go anywhere. So as you got older and older, you just started piling on top of it?
Absolutely. As I got older, because of the dysfunction in my family, so the things that happened to me, a lot of people wouldn't consider abuse because, I mean, culturally, it happens to most of us. So
Give me an example.
being hit, being spanked, you know, getting a good old whooping, but being called out your name, you know, being called black. I grew up thinking I was so dark-skinned because I got called black all the time. And I was like, okay, I get it, I'm black, you know, but I started to see being black as a negative. And so a lot of people don't understand that is abusive. And that's the type of things I had to deal with from a very early age.
And how did that abuse shape you?
Well, honestly, it made me who I am today because I'm a fighter, I'm an overcomer. Challenges don't scare me. I'm not afraid of change. I'm not afraid to fail. I'm the type of person that I take a challenge head on. I'll try anything. If I want to do it, I just jump out and do it. So I feel like it made me a better person.
When you were going through that as a young child, as a teenager, did you still have those traits, or did those traits develop later as a result of maybe some time alone?
To be honest with you, I feel like I came to earth with these traits.
Oh, wow.
Because when I looked in the mirror, even as a little girl, I didn't see a little girl. I saw a God. I saw a person who had God-like abilities to create her own world. So I created my own world growing up. So a lot of things didn't affect me as much as they should have, because I was in my own little world. And so I feel like I came here equipped to deal with this type of abuse to help other people.
Okay. We had a conversation, and you mentioned something about how you hated yourself. And what did it mean? What did it feel like for you to hate yourself, or what did you hate about yourself?
I never truly hated myself.
Okay.
I hated my environment and my circumstances. I hated the fact that I knew there was a God inside of me and it wasn't rising. I was like, when is the God in me gonna show up? Because I see it. Everybody else act like they don't see it, but I know that it's there. And so I hated the fact that I could not activate these powers that I knew were in me to overcome. It was only until I got older that I realized it wasn't my time yet to overcome. I had to go through these years of struggle. I had to go through years of depression, years of low self-esteem, not for me, but for other people. Because like I said, I always knew I was greater than what was being shown to me. It just was in me.
So have you experienced some things where you know something is there? You know you have something to give, but you just can't figure out what it is yet, or you're not ready to take the steps yet. Maybe it's just not your time yet because you still have some more lessons to learn, maybe some more growth to do. So just be a little bit patient, because when it comes, oh, it's gonna flood your life. So you just be ready for it. When it came for you, were you ready?
I wasn't really ready. All these years I was like, when are people gonna see that I got this potential? When is this power when am I gonna rise up and be this woman and this person that I know I am? And it was almost like overnight. I'm serious, it was almost like overnight my life changed. I remember when I was 30 years old and I woke up different. I was in an abusive marriage, but I had just learned to live with it because my family structure, I was used to being abused and neglected. But I woke up on my 30th birthday and I was like an alien that had just come to earth, because I was like, where am I? And why am I here? Because this don't work for me. It was just like overnight, I became a different person. It was my time.
Wow. Do you think because you were abused as a child, or you experienced that, is why you gravitate, or you experienced an abusive relationship?
I think I was more vulnerable to the manipulation tactics that abusers use. So I was definitely more vulnerable to it. There's a cycle of abuse. Abusers come into your life and they have these modes of operating. And I was more susceptible to it because I've experienced it most of my life.
So it was the norm.
It was kind of the norm. It was actually what I was used to.
It was, you're used to the abuse, so you didn't see it as being, okay, I shouldn't take this because I kind of grew up like this.
Yeah, I kind of saw it as, like you said, the norm. But I also tried to figure out, what is it about me that's causing this person to have these difficulties and they really don't know how to behave with me? What is it about me that's causing this person to have a difficult time with me? But I didn't realize it had nothing to do with me. It was that person's issues.
Yeah, but see, you did another thing that I like to say: look at yourself in the mirror and see, what is it that I am doing? A lot of time as people, what we do, we like to always blame someone else for what we're doing. But I want you to take a look in the mirror of what you may be doing. What is it that I am doing that may be contributing to the situation right now? Take a look at yourself and see what you can do to change. We can't change nobody else. We can't change that situation, but you can change your situation and your actions. So I want you to just take a look and see. Examine your situation from your eyes and say, okay, I understand because I do this. Maybe this is prompting somebody else, and this is something that I can do different. Well, when we come back, we're going to take a look a little bit deeper into what Lisa has done to actually tap into that godness, that godliness that's inside of her, and what she did to actually start overcoming how she grew up. Before I do that, I want to just shout out to my sponsor for today, Real Champions League, the premier speaking agency of the future. Just get listed. We'll be right back.
If you want it, then become it.
The only thing that's constant in this world is change. When you think about your most difficult change, do you get emotional? Maybe angry, sad, or frustrated? If you do, there's a high probability you have not healed the wounds of your past. I'm Latisa B, a certified grief coach, helping women to let go of the emotional pain that's been holding them hostage so they can live a healthier and happier life. To learn more, schedule a free discovery call at workwithlatisa.com.
Overcoming and becoming. Overcoming and becoming, babe. If you want it, then become it.
Welcome back to Overcoming and Becoming. If you have just tuned in, we have been talking to my guest, Lisa Danae, and how she has tuned in to her godliness to overcome childhood abuse. And now we're actually going to talk to her a little bit more about what did she do? What was her first steps? And two, tapping into that godliness that's inside of you.
Well, it all started for me when my husband bought me this book. It was called Real Love by Ava Muhammad. And he bought this book and he was thinking it was going to tear me down. He just kind of threw the book at me and said, you need to learn how to be a real woman. And I wasn't going to read the book at first because of how it was presented. But I read the book.
Okay.
And in the book, she was kind of confirming the things I already knew about myself, about how you're made in God's image. You have creative power. You are able to heal yourself. You're able to create your own realities in life. And the truth about real love starts with your love for yourself. So when I read that book, it was the moment I was waiting for. That moment for that God inside of me to rise. And that's when it all started. I really fell in love with myself. And when I fell in love with myself, it was almost instant. I had no desire to be with him anymore. Not only with him, I even started looking at my family relationships differently. Anybody who treated me in a way that was not healthy for me, I immediately could identify it. And that was the beginning of my change.
The beginning of the change. So the first thing that you did, because yes, we may feel it, see it, but taking the action can sometimes be a little bit difficult to all of a sudden do a 180.
Well, it wasn't difficult for me.
Oh, it wasn't difficult for you?
No, as soon as I felt it, I was like, okay, it's time for me to move.
Okay.
It's time for me to go back to school. It's time for me to pursue my career in singing, because I had been singing and composing music since I was 4 years old.
Okay.
But I put it down because, you know, I was always the smartest kid in the class. I was always good at music. And for whatever reason, you get teased and bullied for that. And so I dumbed myself down. I stopped doing my music. I hid all my talents. But at that moment, I said, it's time for me to shine. And that's what I started to do.
And shining you are.
Thank you.
Yes, I remember the episode that I was on and I was talking to you behind the stage. Let me tell you something. I was actually invited on another radio show host that she was the moderator of the show. And in that show, we did like a 2-hour episode. But after the show was over, we were doing a recap of the show. Lisa came on and introduced herself. And that's when I met her, and we had a whole nother show after that because the light that she had shined so bright through a Zoom call. Can you imagine seeing someone's light through a camera? And when I saw that light, I said, I need her light, because she has a light that everybody needs to see, because so many of us, so many women have been emotionally abused, have been physically abused, have been abused as a child, and it's affecting their life still today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I will have to say, when it comes to shining your light, where do you tend to focus your energy at?
Anything that brings me peace, anything that brings me happiness. I have to reevaluate my life every day, because people come in and out of your space, people come in and out of your life. And sometimes their energy just not right. And so for me, I reevaluate everything around me and every project that I do. If somebody presents something to me, I don't care how much money is attached to it. If the energy is not right, I don't go with it, because I've worked too hard to get where I am. And I know that you just really got to protect your peace and even protect your joy.
Oh, yes.
And that's where I put my most of my focus on.
I truly believe protecting your peace and joy, because once you've been through a traumatic event, an emotional event, and you have put all that work in
Yes.
to get that peace,
Yes.
oh, you're not trying to let nobody or anything take it away from you. So if you've reached a level of comfort and peace, protect it with everything that you have, even if it means letting some of those relationships go.
Yes. My favorite catchphrase that I use all the time is love myself more. I have to always love myself more. I can never love myself enough. And also I have to love myself more than any situation, more than any job, more than any relationship. It's all about my relationship with myself first.
Because that's all you really have, right?
That's all you really have.
That's it.
That's the only thing you really have a guarantee to,
That's
is the
it.
relationship you have with yourself. Everybody else is temporary.
Temporary. Wow. I like that. So you see what Miss Lisa said. Everybody else is temporary, but the relationship you have with yourself, that's going to stay with you. Because if you think about what's going on in this time right now, the reason why so many people is having a hard time dealing with things is because the relationship they have with themselves, they have not healed it yet.
Or cultivated it
Oh,
at all. People
tapped
run
into
away
it.
from themselves. You know, you find busy work, you find things to do, you find relationships in order to not deal with yourself. But I think in this pandemic, people have been stuck inside with themselves.
Exactly. And
It's a
I think
perfect
it's because of
opportunity.
that stuck inside. It's like, okay, I got to do this. And you don't have any of your distractions to take you away from yourself. So now you're forced to be with yourself.
And that's really a blessing, though.
Yeah.
Take advantage of this time and really develop your relationship with yourself and get better and always love yourself more.
So let me ask a question. If you had to go back 10, 20, 30, we ain't gonna talk about no age. When you was a little girl, when you was a little girl and you see her and you want to share some words of encouragement with her, because the first time she said something or something was said to her that made her feel a certain kind of way, knowing there's nothing you can change, she has to hear it, she has to experience it. What would you tell her?
I would tell her, you're right. Everything that you think about yourself, you are 100% correct. I remember telling my mother one day, she yelled at me and I said, listen, I was a queen in a former life, so you need to respect me. She said, well, in this life, you a child. I don't know where I got that from. It was just in my head. So I always thought so highly of myself, and I would just tell my former self, you are correct to think that way. Do not change how you think. You're right.
So if you're getting some deja vu and you feel like you have been a queen in a former life, it's a high probability you have.
You might be.
It really, truly is. Take Lisa's word to it. It's a high probability. Well, we're going to go ahead on and take a commercial break. But before we take a commercial break, I just want to shout out my sponsor for this segment, and that's JWU Holistic Healing. Any pain that you're in, she can help you get out. She can help you take care of that pain ASAP. Just give her 3 months. We'll be right back after this break.
If you want it, then become it.
Have you been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease or in chronic pain? Issues with your neck, your back, and even waking up in the morning, you just do not feel yourself. It's stopping you from daily activities that you would normally do on a regular basis. Have your doctors failed you? Are you trying not to lose hope? Your faithful appointments, you continue to keep them, and you see there's no hope in sight. Are you tired of fighting your body and ready to win this battle? It's time for you to return to fun, laughter, dancing, and family time. At JWU Holistic Healing, we help you to naturally eliminate your chronic pain so you can start enjoying life the way you want to. For more information, go to eliminatemychronicpain.com and schedule a free discovery call.
Overcoming and becoming, overcoming and becoming, babe. If you want it, then become.
Welcome back to Overcoming and Becoming. If you have just tuned in, we have been talking to my guest, Lisa Dene, and how she has overcome childhood abuse by embracing the queen inside of her. And now Lisa's going to share some advice for those that may be in that same situation. So Lisa, for a woman that may have see herself in your shoes, for her to look at you and memories start to come back of her childhood, what type of advice would you give her? Because maybe she's stuck right now because she can't let what happened go.
My advice would be, don't try to let it go. Deal with it. Don't run from it. Acknowledge that it happened. Acknowledge how you feel about what happened, and begin to work on your healing. Because you can't just look over it and feel like, I want to act like this didn't happen.
Just avoid it.
Yes.
How many of you always avoiding? I mean, we talked about avoidance so much, but avoidance is why we still feel the way we feel. Avoidance is why you cannot move forward. It's because we continue to avoid the situations that is stopping us from moving forward.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, everybody has some type of trauma in their life. We know this. Sometimes it's traumatic just getting to work, you know? So it's not, I don't want people to feel like they're alone in this. Everybody has experienced some type of trauma. What separates the winners from the losers and the people who overcome and the people that don't is that they deal with their trauma. They acknowledge how it makes you feel and work on healing from the trauma that you experience.
So they're intentional with it.
You have to be intentional. You have to work diligently every single day. It's just as if you had a physical injury. If you broke your leg, you can't say, well, I'm not going to work on the healing of my leg today. Your body does that every day to heal your leg. It's the same with healing from trauma. You have to be mindful that you've experienced this and it has affected you, and you have to work on the healing.
You know, you said as a broken leg, we go to the doctor. We get help.
Yes.
Because we need it to mend itself. But a lot of times what I realize is that when people go through an emotional trauma, an emotional experience, they never get help. But we need help. So if we can go to the doctor when we are physically injured,
Absolutely.
we should seek help when we are emotionally injured and not allow it to try to heal up on its own. Because what's going to happen? It's going to heal up, but it's going to have so much scars.
Yeah.
A wound that didn't get treated, oh, it is a nasty healing scar.
And sometimes emotional wounds don't heal.
Yeah.
If you don't work on it, it will fester and become bigger. Have you ever talked to someone who experienced some traumatic event, something as simple as being afraid on a roller coaster? When they see a roller coaster, they have a fit, and you're thinking, is it that serious? It's that serious.
I have a
because
fear.
they did not deal with the trauma associated with that fear.
Yeah, I have a fear of roller coaster. I almost fell off
Oh,
one.
really?
I
I never
almost
knew
fell off
that.
a roller coaster when
Wow.
I was about 7, 8 years old in the front seat. It was old school. This is before the
yeah.
safety harnesses and everything. This is when you just put the little latch over, and I was on the
Yes.
front one. And it was a wooden roller coaster. And I was lightweight. I was little. I almost literally came up from behind the rail that they put on us.
Yes.
I am afraid of roller coasters. I will not get on a roller coaster. I do not like going fast. I do not like not being able to control anything. That fear of a roller coaster did that to me.
Wow, I never even knew that, using that example. I use that example because I do too. I had the same type of experience, but the crazy thing is I got right back on it.
Wow, no, not me. But let's transition just a little bit. So I know as a child, we are helpless, right?
Yes.
We're helpless. And we're at the mercy of the adults in our lives.
Yes,
But we can touch an adult today.
absolutely.
If you could share some words with an adult who may not even be knowing to them that they are verbally abusing a child or that they are physically abusing a child and the damage that they're going to cause that child, would you share some words with them today?
My words would be to respect that child as if they are an adult. Respect that child. You don't know who that person was sent here to be. Respect that child. One thing I tell parents all the time, do not call your children out of their names. Do not disrespect your child. Honor their choices. Even when your child is small, if they decide, I no longer want you to help me bathe, listen to them. It's their body. You have to teach them to respect boundaries and to have and set personal boundaries at an early age. So don't see it as a disrespect of your authority. See it as the child growing into their own.
And
you
we're
know,
not
and
blocking
owning,
them.
yes, owning their space and time on this earth. That's a blessing that your child starts to understand their purpose in their life. So I would say encourage that. You know, don't discourage creativity. A lot of parents do that not knowing that you could be killing the very thing that this child was here to do.
Yes.
So I would say just respect the child just as if they were an adult.
So one of the things that, you know, I grew up, I was a very opinionated child. So I talked a lot. And I know to the elders in my family, it came across as though I was being disrespectful. Even though I didn't believe I was being disrespectful, I was just sharing an opinion because it was led to me. I was given that train of thought, and I thought I had the right to say it.
And you did.
Yeah.
It's like I raise my children differently than a lot of people I know. I tell my children, say what's on your heart. Don't worry about offending me. Say what's on your heart. A lot of times I tell them, I need you to rephrase that.
Yes.
I need you to think about what you said and how you said it. I need you to rephrase it. But I never get offended because I know they love me. They're just trying to find out who they are and develop into the person they came here to be.
And a lot of times our children, what they really do, they make us take a look at ourselves.
Yes.
They call us out.
Yes.
And sometimes we don't want to be called out by our children because what
true.
do they know, right? They're
Right.
just kids. You will be surprised what a child is meant to tell you. My daughter calls me out all the time. And because of what she tells me, and I have raised her to speak that she has a voice, she knows how to eloquently say, Mama, you wrong. Say, Mama, it's time for you to do something different. And I just want you to know that, hey, I appreciate everything that you are doing, everything that you're doing in the community. And I just want, if somebody wants to reach out to you, where can they reach out to you at?
They can go to my website at lisadene.com or stunnerradio.com. I'm on social media, on all social media platforms as Lisa Dene.
Lisa Dene. And let me tell you something. I went to her website and I heard that beautiful voice of hers. OMG. What a voice, what a gift. That queenness is all up in her. Well, we're going to go ahead on and take another commercial break. And before I do that, I just want to shout out my sponsor for this segment, Kagan Lane Photography. If you're looking for someone that's going to capture the moment as it is, check them out. And we'll be right back.
If you want it, then become it.
The only thing that's constant in this world is change. When you think about your most difficult change, do you get emotional? Maybe angry, sad, or frustrated? If you do, there's a high probability you have not healed the wounds of your past. I'm Latisa B, a certified grief coach, helping women to let go of the emotional pain that's been holding them hostage so they can live a healthier and happier life. To learn more, schedule a free discovery call at workwithlatisa.com.
Become a part of a speaking agency that will show you how to stay relevant and be the speaking expert in your field now. Get ready to be ahead of the pack. Join the League of Champions and get ready for a champion comeback.
Overcoming and becoming. Overcoming and becoming, babe. If you want it, then become it.
Welcome back to Overcoming and Becoming. Thank you for tuning into today's show. If you haven't learned anything else about today, know that you can tap into the queen that's inside of you. And remember, no matter what happens in life, there is always a life after. You just got to choose it. Until next time.
If you want it, then become it. Just let your light shine through you, baby. Ooh. truth.